got a 5-minute timer on it.
All right, I'm taking us live. I think we're live now. Hopefully, it's coming through. But welcome everybody. This is the first RGC podcast in a minute. It's been about 11 months, I think, since David and I were here together. But we're back for the Retro Gamer Chronicles. This is Eric with Game Mode Retro.
This is your lamest dad, the lame dad.
The lamest dad ever.
The lamest dad. That's right. Yeah.
I love it.
You know, that's what my family, that's what my kids and my nieces all think, right?
I know. Well, I mean, I feel like it's a perfect segue for our topic today too, because we are talking about it earlier, and we're going to talk about the current state of gaming and our thoughts on it and how it's changed. And we're going to probably sound like boomers tonight because we're going to be thinking a lot about the past. So it's definitely going to be from that. I feel like train of thought. So
yeah, I like how you said boomers, like for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely on that side of the house now, but we got a new little thing going on here, and I got a new skin and a few other things I'm trying out. I'm still not the greatest with all this stuff, but especially like the live streaming. But I tried some new things out, and hopefully we got Mike C in the house already, and I know Bill will be stopping by at some point, and I'm sure a few other folks. But yeah, how have you been though? Things are good.
Yeah, busy. I like the new skin. I've got it up now.
Yeah,
looks good. Looks nice. It's always fun to have these meetings, have these kind of conversations. It's just unique. I think we've got my good buddy TC Tiger Chainsaw in the house. He's talking about the chat.
Oh, not working.
Yeah, he said there's no live chat, but Mike C is chatting it up. So.
That's weird. I'm sure that maybe we'll catch up in a second. Let's see. Yeah. But so looking forward to talking about today. We're going to talk about our thoughts on modern gaming, and we're kind of, go through it, and, we're going to kind of shoot from the hip a little bit here, but please join in and definitely join the conversation as you're listening to us today. Looks like, Bill's in there. I forgot to refresh my page when I'm here. So Bill's in the chat now, too. What's up, Billy?
Bill,
Science guy. There you go. All right, so we talked about it a little bit, but the first thing that I was thinking about when this first came to mind around our thoughts on modern gaming was I think, and Bill can kind of chime in here too. Like all of us that grew up with what the first thing you think about with like playing video games was playing in the same room, right? So your friends would come over and you're playing in the same room. You got like a Genesis and you got 4 wired controllers or whatever else you're playing. And now I feel like it's more along the lines of which is cool because again, like for you and I, we can play online and you can be where you are and I can be a few thousand miles away and playing the same game. So it's cool for that aspect. But what are your thoughts about like the way it's kind of evolved?
I mean, like that was afternoon like school life for like 8 years. Like that was what you get off the school bus, you go home. Like I was a latchkey kid. My parents weren't home, and neither were our friends in the neighborhood. So that was life. Like after school video games, just hanging out, and like it was just what you did.
Right.
And so like that aspect has really I won't say disappeared, but it's much like it's not prominent anymore.
Right. Yeah, and I think like that was like one of the things, I don't know, like you go to your friend's house and like I don't know, your parents or your mom's making you like nachos and make you're drinking like Yoo-Hoo and Sunny D and you're playing video games. And I feel like now, like, my son, he just turned 17, and he has his friends over still, and they still play like live games like in the same room, but they definitely play more on like Line and Discord. And I'll be sitting here and he's in the other room and I can hear him yelling and screaming at his friends through Discord. So I feel like it's just evolved. But I mean, I think a lot of us that are watching the stream now are from that side of things, where growing up, younger generation with retro consoles and whatnot. Sunny D in the house.
Yeah, and like that's one thing that I think like Nintendo of the companies has really still captured, and it's fun. Like I've watched my two oldest daughters beat Luigi's Mansion, 10 or 15 times.
Right.
And like they just recently beat Hyrule Warriors like last weekend, and they were so pumped and so excited about it. But it was that local couch, co-op.
Right.
Not just like with siblings, but like forget that part. That's whatever. Like
Right.
It was couch co-op.
Right. And I think that's like one of the things that I think about too, where like modern gaming, one thing I think about a lot is like it looks too good. Can you still call it a video game?
Yeah, it's definitely like your imagination. I feel my imagination isn't in it as much as it used to be, but that's because it does look so good.
Right. We got Shotgun in the house. Everybody's here, man. This is a party.
Yep.
It's been 11 months. Everybody's like chomping at the bit for some of this RGC podcast.
Yeah, we got the gang in the house.
And I love it. We appreciate the support. Yeah, and I think like I don't know, like when I was a kid, we were kids, right? Like I don't know, like the best game going as far as graphics go, like I don't know, on like Genesis, like Streets of Rage and games like that, like those look awesome, and like those were cartoony games, and now it's just like they're much more real, and which is cool. Like Madden, I know you're a big fan of Madden there, David, but I know that like it looks so real. It's not really even a video game anymore. It's crazy. It's nuts.
I mean, like back, I say back in the day, like Boomer, back in the day, 20 years ago, which is actually like 25, 26 years ago at this point. But like, yes, the topic of graphics was a thing. It's always been a thing.
Right.
But it really wasn't the determining factor, which to me, and I know you and a lot of people, especially in the chat, and a lot of the community, graphics aren't nowhere near what a defining or what a good gaming experience should be.
That's a good point. Like the gameplay, like the experience. I remember, like for me, one of the more modern games that I really was a fan of for a long time was Destiny, and I just feel like the mechanics of that game were just phenomenal. Like the gameplay was so much fun. The graphics weren't like amazing, but I feel like the gameplay was great. I got to mention this. A couple things we're seeing in the chat here. So Mike C brings up a great point. Game rentals, like remember renting games from like for Blockbuster or like the local video store near me was Video America back in the day. My son and my daughter your kids they'll never know what a rental store is. Like I said VHS the other day to my 6-year-old, and she's like, "What's a VHS?"
Yeah.
Like even like DVD. Like what's a DVD? She doesn't even know what a DVD is because everything is so digital now. So that's a great point from Mike C.
So like I've been to a couple of game conventions lately.
Yeah.
And I took my daughter
to UTC.
Oh, dude, that was a trip and a half. That was a great time, awesome time. But I had my daughter at the last game convention, and we walked by this guy who was just selling junk. Mm-hmm. It was just junk, but he had a like piss ton of VHS tapes. Like my daughter saw Lion King, and she was like, "Dad, what's that really weird looking DVD case?" I'm like, "No, honey, that's you put that in a VCR."
Right. Yeah, and it's my wife. She's upstairs right now. She's actually watching Air, the Michael Jordan movie. I was watching it for a bit before, and they were like, showing a lot of VCRs and stuff. And he had like the old VCR remote like tethered to the VCR, and like when those things first came out, it was like $1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you can buy like if I have one over here, I got it for I think I got it for free, like things like that. And then let's see, Downing brings up GoldenEye. I think for me, GoldenEye, like we still play it to this day. Like all 4 players, my friends, we come over. GoldenEye also was one of those couch co-ops that really like I feel like made a whole new genre.
I mean, this is a very unpopular opinion. Don't get me wrong. Like GoldenEye set the standard, or it definitely changed the gaming landscape for what console first-person shooters were supposed to be. Um, I'm not a huge GoldenEye fan, but I did play a shit ton of it,
Yeah,
uh, just because that's what you did. But I
right.
sucked at it, so that's why I wasn't a fan.
I would, yeah, I'm pretty terrible at it too. Bill can attest to that. I'm terrible at GoldenEye, but again, it's a lot of fun. I feel like I was one of those who always died pretty quickly, but um, it was just so fun. I feel like even if you were terrible at it, but yeah, I got this recently. Bought this on like eBay or something. Someone makes them with like a 3D printer, like little nostalgia and stuff like that. But getting back to the video game renting and things like that. Um, things like GameFly and like you have GameFly, you have different rental, you can automatically download, you can pay for things on, the Switch obviously has online, Xbox game, I almost said GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation, you can obviously buy games. What's your thoughts on digital games? Like just straight up digital, no physical media.
So I mean, like no physical media, I'm not a fan of. Um, but like I do really like digital games. Like again, like I don't want if I had to pick and choose all day, it's going to be physical. I think that's the boomer side of us, or just the collecting side of us. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like having
Right.
those possessions, it's something that means something to me, boomers.
Yeah. No,
But like
yeah.
I do like that's one of my things with modern gaming is like the ease of modern gaming. Like my sorry lazy butt doesn't have to get out of my recliner if I want to change a game.
So, you know better than I do. Is TC being sarcastic with that comment, or is he being legit?
You know, I don't know. Like I can't like you can't. TC is pretty damn unpredictable.
I love it. No, he's hilarious. I didn't play a lot of co-op gaming growing up since I served 8 years in juvie, but I did like Fighting Force for co-op. That's awesome. I'm just kind of catching up on some of the chats here. My other thought about as we're talking about like the again I have a PS5, I have the the full physical version. So I feel like we're at the point now where like if you're going to purchase a game for $70, you still don't automatically get a download, right? Like they don't. Not all. Some games do that. Some games don't. So if you buy it physical, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a digital download. Correct?
Right? Yeah, yeah, and that's like I think that takes like my mind into another frustrating part of modern gaming is like I spent like $200 buying Horizon Forbidden West special edition, and I got this nice statue. I got an awesome steelbook case,
Yeah.
but no physical game. How are you going to give me a case for $200 and no game?
You're right. Yeah, that's my biggest thing. I feel like if they want to push the digital, I understand that they're trying to get you to go digital and all that stuff. And I will say it works sometimes. I remember I pre-ordered, the newest Call of Duty. What's the newest one? Modern Warfare 2, right? That's the newest one, I think,
Yeah.
the remake. So I pre-ordered that, and I got antsy. I wanted to play it like the night of, and I went and I downloaded it on digital, and I had a hard copy as well in a few days. So it's just like it sometimes will get you. It gets the itch. You can play it early. They do a lot of things like that. They'll let you if you digital download it, you can play it 2 weeks early, things like that. So they're trying to get you to go that route. And I guess for the environment and things like that, I understand that kind of stuff. But I love the physical. I just recently went out and spent a couple $100 in records for Record Store Day. I love physical media still.
Nice. That's awesome. I think about my good buddy Heaps of Games over across the pond.
Yeah.
He's mentioned it several times. Like to me, the digital store has its pros and its cons. But like, how are you going to release a game, physically and digitally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have a pre-order for the digital, but then you'll have a comment from the publisher or from the store. last time to pre-order. It's a digital game.
Right.
Like, what the hell does that mean? Last
Right.
time to pre-order?
Right. It's
What the
like
hell is that?
I feel like one of the guys, one of my buddies that I work with, he always says all the time, like a pre-order is just for them to get the money well in advance so they can do with what they want. And they do, like, there's definitely FOMO with it. People, they try to, get you to do it. And like, if you don't do it, exactly, like you're going to miss it. It's a pre-order, you know?
Yeah, it's a pre-order. Am I gonna miss some crappy skin? Am I gonna
Right.
miss some like modded weapon or
Right. You're going
something?
to get,
Like,
yeah, you get some special perks and things like that, but it's not, but yeah, nowadays, like, I don't know, the new Zelda game for the Switch was $70, right? Or was it $60? They went up in price too, right?
I
I'm pretty sure.
don't buy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well. I don't buy a whole lot of Switch games. I really don't buy any games at new value just because it's $70. Like,
$70.
in this economy, that's like almost a full tank of gas in my truck.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money, man.
$69. My son, so he's been playing it for a few days now. It came out yesterday. He stayed up for the midnight release. Okay, so let's talk about that too. So I feel like a pro to modern gaming is the amount, like in real time, like you can, like, so digital, you download it, you're instantly able to play it. So if it releases on a day, you want to play it at midnight, and you're instantly playing it. That's a pro. I feel like it's at at your fingertips. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to go to a midnight release. You don't, those types of things. So from that standpoint, I feel like that's a pro, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, but I think, like, I can play devil's advocate and go both and see both sides of the coin. Like, I saw a picture on Twitter about some store doing a Zelda midnight release, right? And like,
Yeah.
there was a ton of people in line to pick it up. Um, my area really doesn't do any kind of midnight releases anymore. Or honestly, I would still probably go to a few just for that, like we were talking about earlier, like the blockbuster experience, like the experience of waiting in line for a midnight release was
Mhm.
it was an event. It may have not been a extremely, like, massive, crazy thing, but just standing outside talking to other people, it was just an event. It was something you waited for as you pre-ordered
Right.
that game. Waited a year, 2 years for it, whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, and I think so. Okay, now this is a big gripe for me for modern gaming, and we all can feel this way about it too. I mean, we all can feel it. So obviously, a lot of us that are listening, that are in the chat right now, we're into retro gaming. We're big fans of it. So we purchase physical media and things like that. And I'm telling you, there's still nothing that beats. And this is going to make me sound like a boomer. So we already warned everybody that there were some boomer things going on here today. But nothing beats just taking a cartridge out of the case, putting it into the system, and not having to wait an hour, 2 hours to download it to the god dang hard drive.
Oh, dude, that is terrible. At least with the PS5, like, the NIC card that's inside of the PS5 is pretty quick. So, like, the installs are faster.
Yes, you're correct. You're correct on that.
But I mean, like, good night. Like, I bought my Xbox One like the week it released, way back in 2014, whatever it
Mm.
was. And like, I would buy a new game for the Xbox. Like, I would send my wife to the store in the morning to buy a Xbox One game, take it and install it for me. That way, it would be ready some 8 hours later
Mm.
to play. Like, that's absurd. Like, nothing ruins somebody's day quicker than, like, oh, like, I've been waiting on this game for a year and a half. Let me put it in. Oh, it's got to install for 6 hours.
Yeah,
Like, just complete mood killer. Just
Right.
just ruins your night. Like,
it definitely does, and like
it
that's
sucks.
yeah, it's 100%, and it's like one of those things where, again, like just taking a Genesis game, popping it and turning it on, hitting power, and it just automatically works. Never gives you blow on it every now and then, as it doesn't work sometimes. But as far as like updating it, it's just, oh man, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is like it could take, or like, for example, right? A lot of people will say things like an update to a game or a patch is BS because that means that they released a broken game. Like it happened with Cyberpunk. Okay, that's probably an extreme example, right? Cyberpunk, but that game was like they knew that game was broken and they released it. So that's pretty bad. But obviously, if bugs and things like that happen and they're not on purpose, but I do think a lot of people feel that companies have gotten lazy and they do release games that are not really 100% ready to rock and they want the money and they put them out. So that's also been, I think, a big gripe for modern gaming, right?
Well, whatever. I think the game's called Redfall. I think, which is the big one for the Xbox that just came out a couple of weeks ago, and
Okay.
it's terrible. It's full of glitches. It needs like an emergency patch, similar to Cyberpunk. And like I understand, I understand the business and the financial dollar aspect of it, where the publisher has been paying for this game to be created. They've been paying for it. They want their sale. They want their revenue. They want their profit. So it's just hurry, hurry, release the game. And the customer, the consumer, like refuses to just fight back against crap like that. And it's like a lot of developers are doing exactly what like EA Sports is doing, where they're releasing just mediocre titles that are either broken or just mediocre and
Right.
wanting $70 for it.
Yeah. I think ultimately, like, that's kind of where I think my biggest gripe with modern gaming is that there are, well, a lot of shills out there that are trying to make some extra cash. And it's again, like, it's a lot. I can see the positives in it as well. There's a lot of positives to it, but I do feel like maybe companies back in the day took a little bit longer to make the product before they released it. And then TC says physical media forever. I started playing Final Fantasy for the first time on my PSP, and I opened it up, and it came with a thick manual and 5 collectible cards of the characters. Beautiful. Yeah, man. Like that's why, like a lot of people give crap to like limited run games and things like that, but I do support a lot of that. Like I do buy a lot of those titles because I love the physical, the manuals and like the steel books like you mentioned before. Like I love that stuff, man.
Yeah, so like at the convention that TC and I were working, we
Saw your comment. Sorry.
yeah, no, you're good. We ran into premium edition games and got to hang out with them quite a bit, and we've met them before. But yeah, like premium edition games, just like they do it right, where they're gonna release a game, you're gonna get a manual, you're gonna get some cheesy, crappy stickers,
Mm.
you're gonna get all this stuff, but like to me, that's the whole package.
So I actually
Like
want to, yeah, keep going. You're good.
for example, like the Zelda game that just released. Um, I have briefly played Breath of the Wild, and it's a massive game. But like, where the hell's the map in the inside, like the physical media manual? Remember when games came with maps?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like
Just
yeah,
a
like
missed opportunity.
I remember I'm like even like Breath of the Wild. I think I brought my son like the collector's edition or something in the in the manual and it or the strategy guide, and it came with a full map, and it was like super thick. But again, we paid a high dollar amount for that. Downing says the ability to fix a game after the fact is 10 to 15 years old. Imagine doing that with an SNES cart you couldn't fix. That's another a great point. So if there was if there was like a broken game that was released in like a older model, we wouldn't be able to get any update for it. So that's also a fair point in the favor of modern gaming. You can get things fixed easier.
Well, and I think like with his comment and just kind of touching on like the bugs and the patches and all of
Yeah.
that, 25, 30 years ago, the video game industry was nowhere near the size of what it is now. And
Right.
and so like there's a lot of dollars that are flowing through the video game landscape and industry, and they don't have to be as thorough. Like they really don't, which is it's crap, but it is what like that's the way it is.
Right.
Unless people fight back and don't buy this stuff, you're not going to see anything really change.
Right. And that's I know like for example like again thinking about like what was it, Cyberpunk, that was a big outrage and a lot of people got their money back and all that kind of so there was some stuff there. They did right by the consumers on that end, but a lot of times, yeah, like you're the consumer will keep buying it. You know, like other games that are released, they're going to keep buying it no matter what, and then that's kind of what happens.
Well, that's the EA Sports, paradigm and
Right.
problem. Like there's no competition, not just for Madden games or football games, but hockey. NBA Live's got the market locked up with the NBA games, uh, the WWF games,
Yep.
golf, baseball. And like I've seen over the years where all of the sports games have just become mediocre, same year, every year releases that are the same games, just a roster update.
Right.
And
And yeah, 100%. Remember what was this is off topic, but what was the wasn't there like an ESPN football game for a while, like in the early 2000s, that kind of gave Madden a run for their money? It was like ESPN football. I think it was licensed NFL, wasn't it? Or was it? No, no, no. I don't think it was actually. I think it was an
no,
unlicensed.
yeah, they all were licensed
That's okay.
up until '05, but like the ESPN, like the NFL 2K series
Right.
was seriously giving EA competition. You had like NFL Fever, NFL Blitz. Uh, you had like NFL Game Day going back to like PlayStation 1 days. Uh, like every major sport had several different publishers, and the fact that like once EA locked up that uh, license contract, nobody can like the majority of people don't want to play a football game with a bunch of scrubs in it, or
Right.
like number 11 at quarterback. Like what the hell? Like,
Wasn't it? Wasn't it? Yeah, wasn't it Madden? The first one of the first Maddens for 64 wasn't that like unlicensed, and it was like yeah,
yes,
Foxborough was like the name of the team for like the Patriots.
yeah, like that is an absolute terrible Madden game. But yeah, like it wasn't licensed, and like you go play as like what would be the Green Bay Packers, like they're wearing like a green jersey, a yellow helmet. And you're like,
Yes,
oh,
the Green
like,
Bay Packers, right?
this is knockoff Green Bay.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so classic. All right, so as far as that scope, so we're covering a lot so far. This is great, but I want to go off on one small tangent, and since we have TC in the chat as well, you guys were both recently at which one were you at? Which convention?
We were at the Midwest Gaming Classic in his backyard in Milwaukee.
That's awesome. So just tell us about that. I saw that he did like the hosting, and you guys were kind of working it together, like in interviewing some folks. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, like Downing's basement, Chris Downing, who's in the chat. We got to hang out with him. There was just it was a lot of work, a ton of work. We were pretty much busy from the time I landed until the time I left.
Yep.
But I don't want to go to another game convention that I can't work in some aspect like that. Just because like we got to meet so many awesome, amazing people, and there was so many people that would just come hang out with us and just chill. We the after parties, all of that, and it wasn't nothing like crazy fights and drunken idiots.
Right.
It it was just a really good time.
Yep.
And so being able to like hang out with John Hancock,
Yeah, I
Adam
saw that.
Carolla, uh, so many other people like that. Like I can't wait to go back next year.
That's cool. I'll give you a cheap plug for the one that's by me. I don't know. It's the Retro World Expo. It's in Hartford,
Okay.
Connecticut. They've been doing it for probably 4 or 5 years now. But yeah, that looked pretty cool though. So you guys had a great time there. TC was hustling. Both you guys were hustling. So I saw all the videos you guys put out from that. Super cool.
Yeah. Spoiler on that, or for the people that are in the channel or in the chat, that uh, TC is actually coming to Austin or coming to Houston in July, and we're gonna go tear it up at Texas' biggest game convention in July. So um, I'm not sure what capacity yet we're gonna be doing things with it, but
Yep.
yeah, man, going to the game conventions and doing that type of stuff is just it's an event. It is an
Right.
experience, especially when you get to like over a period of a weekend, stay out of state or whatever. Um,
Right.
I highly encourage everybody that's on the chat and everybody that listens, everybody that watches or whatever. Look at that game convention that maybe 6 months to a year out, whatever. You have the money to go. I promise you, you have the money to go. Just skip back a little bit, save some money, buy an airplane ticket, get
Right.
you a room, and just hang out.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest thing about conventions, obviously the prices are up there, retro games and things like that. It's definitely pricey, but you can always find some pretty cool deals, and a lot of the vendors that are there, they want to help you out, give you some good deals on some things there. Obviously, you'll find some grails that are super expensive, but that's a a given. But that's awesome. So I think that's one thing too that like talking about like modern gaming. I would say like retro gaming is probably as, if not more popular right now than like some of the newer stuff that's coming out. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And like I think the lack of new property, new games, new titles. Um, I think the majority of people are playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends, or sports games. But I think excuse me,
Here.
the 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 main like gamer like person like we would consider like yeah they're gonna start trying to go a different route, play some of the old games, play some of the retro games.
Mm.
I mean it may be weird for us to sit here and talk about boomers and talk about the N64, but like that guy's coming up on being like what, almost 30 years old in a few years.
Yeah, yeah, dude, it's insane. Like the amount of like time that some of these consoles, as far as like the ages go now, it's crazy. So great transition that I wanted to think about. So now again, as we're talking about like modern gaming and things like that. So here I have, right, this is a Sega Nomad, so we can play full Sega games in here. But I upgraded this so it has the better LCD screen on it, and it doesn't look like shit when you're playing the older games. And it's awesome. It's a great mod. It looks fantastic. So that's another win. I feel like I like the retro games, but I want to be able to play it in a technology that is better now, as far as like the LCD screen back. The old TFT displays that were here before were garbage. But for the time, dude, being able to play a game, second game on the go, fantastic. It's still amazing. But to have the mod, I feel like that's a good thing that modern gaming has done for the retro industry, has been able to, different things like that, different mods that come out for different systems, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's key because I think what a lot of people won't, or it's not, it's a, what I mean, like a lot of those consoles like just have not aged well, and like the technology that's with that, uh, just hasn't. Like I don't, I love the N64, but damn, that console sucks, man. Like playing the N64 now with that crazy crap controller back then,
I still
back
disagree with
then it
you.
was awesome.
You know what? I disagree. You hate Wave Race. I love Wave
Uh,
Race, and you hate Wave
I
Race.
hate Wave Race. I love the 64, uh, but like there's hardware, there's equipment now that does make wireless controllers.
Right.
They do make like HDMI cables and adapters for that,
Yep.
which do continue the link or prolong the life of the console. Uh, but like the PlayStation 1, the 64, like it looks rough.
It does.
Which again,
Yeah.
graphics don't make a game in my opinion, but the controls on some of that. Like, have you played Shadows of Empire recently?
Oh, I went back recently and played. What's the other one? What's the racing one? The pod racing? What's that one?
Yeah,
The controls are
the,
garbage for that. Pod racing?
yeah.
Yeah, they're garbage for that.
Well,
Yeah.
the same way with with Shadows of the Empire. Like I was playing it, and it was just complete garbage. Not the new Switch one that released, right? But the original
Right.
N64 game was just absolute ass. Uh, I love how like Dave from Square Pegs put out a video on Shadows of the Empire, and he was like, "Yeah, this game sucks now. Like by today's standards,
Right. Right.
it's just not fun to play."
Is
Back then, we didn't know any better.
is Shadow of the Empire, is that the one where like you're in like the speeder, and you're like you're the tie chicken walkers to knock them down, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember like getting the cable out was such a pain in the butt. Yeah, but that's a great point. because we're so back then we didn't really know any better, but now that we're just so used to like a newer control scheme and all these different updates and whatnot to specific controllers, like yeah, like the N64 controller is not great, but for the time it was all we had, right?
Well, at one point, like with first person shooter games, like every first person shooter had a different control scheme, but like that's out of the window. Like every first person shooter plays exactly like the next one, whether it be Call of Duty, Destiny, like Halo, like all of those shooters have all adapted the same type of control scheme. Again, modern gaming, just companies, good or bad, however you want to look at it, are you know kind of forming the industry to kind of be what they want.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I'm pretty sure I rented Shadows of the Empire. I remember the box when it first came out. I remember renting it. But anyway, so one of the things too that I want to talk about around modern gaming. So the Analog Pocket recently released, like about I think it's been like 2 years now because the pandemic and stuff. But like on this bad boy, you can play basically handheld games, arcade games. You could do consoles. So I have you can play Genesis on here. You can play SNES on here, NES. So again, another newer hardware, but something that will let you play retro games in a much better quality LCD, screen. This thing is fantastic. Like, definitely recommend. They're pricey. I think it's like $400 to $500, but it's a fantastic unit that you can play tons and tons of stuff on it. Downing says, I know the guy that designed that. That is freaking cool. That is freaking cool. Yeah, he knows the guy that designed the Analog Pocket. He must be he must be a scholar. He must be a pretty smart guy.
That was another aspect of the Midwest Gaming Classic that like what Downing's doing with the modding community, and like what's going on inside that community with. Like I posted a picture on Twitter of something that one of the guys there made, which was like the smallest N64. It was a world record for the smallest handheld N64. Um, and like what people are doing with all of these very, very smart people. Let's not get it twisted. Like Downing is a damn genius. What people are doing is really cool. It's really to see what they were doing inside of this room at Midwest Gaming Classic. Like it was art. Like that's a cheesy term to use, but
No, it's cool, man.
like there was this huge Game Boy Advance, which was the size of like a 50-inch TV. Uh, just all kind of off the wall stuff, but it was really cool to see what people were doing.
Dude, I think that you just kind of seal the deal. We're gonna have to have Downing on as a guest one time for these. We have to have like a podcast, the three of us, and like pick each other's brain. That's freaking cool. I'm not. I can't mod or anything like that. But just hearing about it, and knowing some of the things is pretty freaking cool, and soldering and all that stuff, man. Like it definitely makes me scared. But that's so cool. We got to talk more about that for sure.
Well, like the one thing to talk about or to bring up in regards to Chris or to Downing
Okay.
is that like I made the comment and during one of the interviews where I was like, this is all being done like via Raspberry Pi or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, you dumbass. He's like, this is all like original technology that we're just shrinking down or modifying to fit in a different shell. Like he made a Tiger handheld that I was playing.
Oh, okay. So this is Chris. I saw your video, or I think he released a video, and yeah. That's so cool. The Tiger handheld. That's awesome.
Yeah, really, really, really cool stuff. And that's like the aspect of using the same hardware. Because so again, like keeping with like the modern day gaming topic here, but going a different direction or taking it where like I know you're a fan of emulation. I know like you use some EverDrives, and I've got a couple of EverDrives. I need more ROMs for my stuff. Yeah, but like that's like emulation is just another form to keep retro games alive in modern day.
Right. Yeah. So like I think a lot of folks like Chris, a lot of folks that are like you know, you mentioned Adam Korlick before. A lot of those guys that are like doing a lot of emulation and HDMI out for like the N64 or modding a Tiger handheld with newer technology, things along those lines. Like they're preserving it, I guess, by even like making it better and making it more relevant. Like you said, like picking up a 64, some of the games didn't hold up well, but if you can make it like again, like bring the Nomad into like our Century with better quality screen, that kind of stuff. I have the same thing done with the Game Gear. It's preserving the retro community.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. I'm a really big like Madden fan. I'm a really big sports game fan. And like I saw a YouTube video where a guy was running NFL Fever, like 4K, 60 frames per second, whatever. And it was beautiful, it was amazing. So I've been trying to get some ROMs for that going. But like I say that, keeping with the preservation topic, I have two original Xboxes that they both play different games than the other one. I have three PlayStation 2s that one of them won't read PS1 games. So like as the hardware is getting to be 20, 30 years old, like it's breaking.
Right. Yeah, and like so Mike C he mentioned something about like he likes the look of the SNES better than Genesis, but the cases for the Genesis, as far as like actual game boxes, like they were plastic, and the SNES ones were the first start of the cardboard ones, right? They were cardboard. The N64 ones were cardboard, and they held up like crap.
Yeah, yes. Which is like look like those clamshells, like the Master System and the
Right.
Genesis,
Yeah.
were just awesome. Like I love those things.
Oh man, I like looking right there. Like yeah, it's so much better quality.
And like I know TC posted a video a year ago or a couple of years ago, where like companies will make you whatever you want nowadays, right? Whatever you're willing to spend money on, somebody's willing to make.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he bought like some really nice Game Boy Color, aftermarket cases
Yep.
that I think were made to last. They weren't the cardboard crap.
Right. Yeah, and you can like eBay or like a bunch of game box reproductions. You can get better quality ones. Like nowadays, I definitely feel like back again, like talking about the industry and how it's kind of changed. Like you're paying $70 for a game right now, and back in the day there were some games that were obviously pretty pricey. Mostly for the time they still were pricey, but look at the quality of like some of even back then, some of the quality of some of the things we're selling were garbage. As opposed to like now. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's like it kind of. I guess I was thinking about this topic that we're talking about. It kind of ebbs and flows, right? Like it kind of goes through these motions where it's kind of going towards less physical, more like digital. But I feel like physical's made a resurgence, and Bill, if you're still hanging out in the chat, we were talking the other day. Vinyl records actually outsold CDs the past like 2 years because like vinyl's coming back again. I'm been buying vinyl more recently too. So isn't that crazy? Like vinyl has outsold CDs, but can't really buy CDs much anymore. Only some places sell them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you probably remember like I do, like Sam Goody,
Sam
Blockbuster
Goody.
Music.
Yep.
Yeah, Blockbuster Music. Those places like that. I mean, like, where would you buy that brand new today? Either like Walmart, which nobody. Like, I don't want to shop at Walmart.
No,
Target.
I don't think Best Buy even sells CDs anymore. I know they sell DVDs.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
like, so that's the thing. Like, I walked into Best Buy a while back, and the CD section was hardly even there. It was like half a shelf, if that. The DVD, the Blu-ray section was extremely pathetic and lacking as well. And so streaming services, like with modern day gaming, like streaming services are killing off the Blu-ray and the DVD media. Like it was kind of cool. I said it was really really cool. A couple of months ago, my favorite local retro game store, they have DVDs, and like you walk in there, and it reminds me of Blockbuster, and their DVDs are pennies on the dollar, pretty much, and they'll sell 20 DVDs for $10.
Okay.
And so you just go in there and you just clean house. Uh, But like what I don't think people realize is that Blu-ray obviously looks a lot better, right? It's
Yep.
better quality, better sound, better all of that. But like in comparison to DVDs, for nerds like us, the like bonus features are non-existent in Blu-rays in
Great
comparison
point.
to DVDs.
Great
And
point.
so like my daughter is like the biggest Star Wars fan I've ever met. And she's watched all of the episodes, all of the series, and can tell you anything and everything about Star Wars, period. Um, and I got to tell her like, hey, on these DVDs, there's all this bonus behind the scenes footage. And
Yep.
like she was blown away. Like they're showing us how they made this scene or they made this movie.
Right.
And you don't get that with Netflix for sure.
Right. Right. That's a great point. And I know like that's the thing. Like so, like a lot of like franchises, like for example, Back to the Future. So Back to the Future was released a few years back again on 4K with all the original like behind the scenes and things like that. But a lot of movies that like get remade and put on a Blu-ray, they get released without a lot of the bonus features because they're just slapping it into on the CD or whatever. Like you said, like Vudu and all these types of places, like you can't really access behind the scenes and stuff like that. So that's a great point. That again, you're sacrificing some of the things that physical would give you versus digital. So if you're downloading it or streaming it on Prime or whatever, Disney Plus, things like that, you're missing out on a lot of that stuff.
And like I don't know if you know, but like even some of the old school VHS tapes
Yep.
had some bonus features on them. Uh, like before the movie started or whatever. And like when Star Wars re-released the trilogy in like the mid or like the late 90s before the prequels came out,
Mm.
like George Lucas was like explaining how like all of those scenes where like the Star Destroyers are like cruising through space. He was talking about how they made that happen, and basically they built the stuff on ping pong tables
Right.
with wheels and just rolled it around. And like, how would you know that? Like, how would kids today know that kind of crap?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, like ILM, I think was the name of the company that did all this the visual effects and stuff for Star Wars, and like they started out in like someone's mom's basement, and yeah, actually now that you mention that, I feel like I do remember seeing you see George Lucas like in the sand dunes with like like the old shot footage and things like that talking about this stuff, but I think yeah, like we don't get a lot of that stuff now. Again, there's wins and there's some wins and opportunities on both sides, like being able to stream. Like I remember like when Netflix CDs started and they were like, oh, we're going to start doing streaming. And I remember like, oh, this is never going to work. I would try it from my computer. It would start and stop. And then like they introduced the Wii disc where you could plug in, put it in there and you could use your what you call it on on there. So crazy stuff, man. But yeah, so I think like this is actually a really good part for the conversation. I feel like we're kind of like we're talking about modern gaming, we're talking about old school like just media and video, movie stores and all these types of things that all these kids that are not going to grow up with that we did. It's crazy. Again, right? Like we didn't grow up. 8 tracks were before us, so just like our parents went through some stuff that we didn't go through, it's the same thing, right? Like there's stuff that they grew up with that we didn't, and vice versa, things like that. So it's the same idea, but it's just crazy how things change.
yeah, I mean it's I mean like my daughters and I were talking tonight, and like kids and even us, we have so much entertainment at our fingertips that like how many times have you sat like in your game room and looked at all the stuff you have to play and you're just like I don't know what to play, and like you
So
spend hours like just trying to determine what you want to do.
you're talking about right now, right?
Right now, yeah,
Yeah,
right now, yeah.
100%. I had this conversation with Bill 1,000 times, and again, Bill is in the chat. He's for those that don't know, he's Retro Comparisons, so check out his channel as well. But we talk about all the time, like having an EverDrive or having a whole, access to like thousands of games or whatever. It's like we'll sit there for an hour, like trying to figure out, okay, what do you want to play? But back in the day, it's like you had 10 games. So you kind of chose from 10 games, Now it's like when you have 7,000 games to choose from, like at the drop of a hat, it becomes difficult. So we do overstimulate ourselves, I think, for those types of things where there's almost too much. Like, again, streaming.
No.
How many streaming services do you pay for, David? Like, we have Netflix, we have Paramount Plus, we got Peacock, we got I'm missing a whole bunch of other ones that are out there that we pay for those too. It's just like it never ends. That's how they get you. Disney Plus, they get you because you can't stream it on this one, so you got to get that one. Like I want to watch this weekend. I want to watch the Michael J. Fox documentary, and it's only on Apple TV Plus. I don't have that, so guess what? I'll pay for it for a month so I can watch that movie.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I will sign up for so many like ghetto email accounts to get the free trials. That's just garbage, man. Like we're buying a streaming service now so I can watch the Astros, and I live in Houston. Like that's garbage. But like that's just where we're at. Um, one thing I did want to bring up, talking about modern gaming, and it's a relatively hot topic within the video game industry today, and that is remakes versus remasters.
Yep.
You've got I've got some stuff here. When you look at when I think of a remake, like I think of like the Twin Snakes, right? Like a remake, not like a remaster, like the Resident Evil, like the king of remakes, in my opinion. So many companies are just slapping that word on games just to make money.
Here's one that you'll like. This was an awesome.
Oh, dude! This is my game of the year. Like that's my
Dude.
game of the year.
I spent so much time playing it recently. I had to buy it for the PS5. It phenomenal. They did such a great job with this. So to your point, this was a remake, not just like a remaster.
Well, then you got something like this that my wife bought it on sale, which is The Last of Us Part 1. This is not a remake. This is a remaster that they were trying to sell for $60 and $70. That is, yes, it looks better than the PlayStation 4 game. It does run a little bit better, but is it worth $70? No.
Right.
There is some cool bonus features you can unlock, like color mode or like pen and ink mode. If you remember some of those cheat codes back in the day. But like the remaster versus remake, like what's a good remaster, or what defines a remaster versus a remake?
So to your point, right? I think when I think about if I'm a band, right? I'm a band and I'm remaking a song. I don't want it to sound exactly the same. I think it should be different. So I think a remake is that reimagining, or like you said, or not just a remaster, but a complete. It's the bones of the original idea, and to the point of to what you're saying there. It's a reimagining of the original game. They just enhanced it and made it better, but they didn't just. What was the one a few years back? Was it the people got mad about? It wasn't that great of a quality remaster remake. Grand Theft Auto. They did like the Vice City right, and people were mad because they didn't really do a lot of different things to it to make it look better. So, and we got GameCube Galaxy in the house.
Oh yeah, definitely, Marcello. Thanks for stopping by and checking in. And so that's the very, very tricky part with a remaster or a remake.
Right.
And I was really kind of concerned with Resident Evil 4 is you want to take, or I would think that the company doing this project would want to do justice to the original game.
Right.
And like Resident Evil 4 on GameCube changed the landscape of video games. I mean, you had quick time events and everything after the original.
And so as we're talking about physical media, right? So we got physical media.
Yeah.
No manual, no nothing. Just the CD. And in the chat, so we got a few people. Let's see, Marcello for remasters or just upscaling original assets and visuals for newer hardware. Remakes are building a game again from the ground up. And then Bill said, I want Street Fighter, the movie, the game, the remake of the remaster. Oh, man, that's awesome. Was that the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie Street Fighter?
It was. Like, I remember watching that movie and ordering it pay-per-view through cable Like that's how you did things way back in the day. If you wanted to watch a movie on cable, you called up the cable company and ordered it pay-per-view.
Got my GameCube Galaxy mug right there,
Nice.
and I actually took a page out of his book, and these will be available. Cheap plug. These will be available on my Teespring store through YouTube. My Game Mode Retro mugs, double sided. So I took the original idea from GCG, but I got them
Oh,
side by side.
nice.
They're awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I like my I won one of his giveaways and I got a nice GameCube controller for the Switch.
Oh,
Again,
nice.
modern day gaming, right?
Yep.
Taking the GameCube controller and bringing it to the Switch was awesome. But I got that coffee cup as well, and I always kind of smirk and smile when I use it for a coffee cup. It's always like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
hope Marcello's doing all right today.
I love it. I think it's so cool. Like this again, the community that we have around us. There's some great folks. And then Chris said from Downing's Basement, if you never own the original, it's like buying it for the first time. That's a great point. That's the thing too that we always have to kind of think about. Number one, this has been awesome so far. I really appreciate everybody. David and I just wanted to sit here and chat. This is perfect what we're thinking exactly. But that's a great point that we have to think about. We may not like it, but somebody else, like you said this before, there will be someone that will support it. There will always be somebody that, again, that's what makes this great. We all have different opinions, and we can, that's what it is, right? But it's a great point because someone may be picking up this Resident Evil 4. They never played it on the GameCube, so they were going to be, oh, this is better or whatever.
Well, like that's a perfect segue into something like this. Onimusha, Warlords, the PS4 remaster. I had never played the original.
Original
Enti-
was it PS2?
it was PS2, and then I think it got released on Xbox. I don't know if at the same time or right after. But I had never played it. Tiger Chainsaw kept hyping me up on it, so I played it, loved it, and was really pissed off that Capcom didn't bring the remaining series to the PlayStation 4. They didn't remaster it because of piss poor sales.
Right.
And so, like, here we see a game that I wish they would bring the series over, but because of money, like, they didn't do it. And I think there was another reason behind that, but I know money was a driving factor. So, again, when the consumer doesn't spend money on it, of course the company's only going to do the right thing and avoid that.
Right. That's a good point. Again, it always comes down to the dollar, almighty dollar. They're gonna, if it's not gonna sell, things like that. But when did was there the RE4 remake? It was remade for the PS5, right? Or did it come out on the PS4 first?
I believe it's on the PlayStation 4, but I think it all released at the same time. It released the same day.
Okay.
I think it came out on the PS4.
I will tell you though, Resident Evil I remember playing it for the first time on on the PlayStation. I remember giving me nightmares, dude. Back that was the game. Even now, I was playing it and I jumped a few. Even knowing what's coming, I still got scared. It's so great.
Oh yeah, I mean dude, playing
dude, I love that long box, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So going back, that takes me back to our opening kind of conversation. Is playing Resident Evil was an event. It was something that we did, me and buddies, hung out around the house and we played Resident Evil, played Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, and it's a one-player game.
Right.
But you just hung out and watched.
You passed the controller.
Jump scared.
Yeah, you passed the controller around, and I remember doing that, a lot back in the day. That's a great point. But it was for the time, man. Those games were freaking scary.
Oh yeah, they were the atmosphere, the music.
I mean, was that really the first? Survival horror game? Was that really that was probably one of the first ones, right?
Yeah. I think it was definitely the one that coined the term survival horror.
Right. I think of what was Splatterhouse? That was for like the SNES and Genesis, wasn't that Splatterhouse? It was like basically like
Yeah,
a knockoff of Jason
uh,
Voorhees there. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Friday
Yeah,
the
just
13th. Yeah,
gore fest type stuff. But like even playing this playing this one, like the controls, uh, the graphics, like the voice acting's always been crap. Um, but like what Capcom did with the remake, like this is one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion.
you love
Um,
Ari. Yeah,
I try to beat this every year, and like I have every version of the game, PlayStation, every port.
yep,
Uh, but like again, that goes back to like just companies like you can't make a Resident Evil 4 remake that's crap. Like, oh, like dear God, dear Lord, baby Jesus, if you make a Resident Evil 4 game that's terrible, you're going to get roasted.
right, right. Oh
Like,
yeah, the following is insane.
yeah,
And GCG, dead on balls accurate, Dave. RE was a cultural phenomenon back in the day.
it was like I remember playing Resident Evil 2 and being scared shitless when like the very first opening, like the first opening few minutes, and you run into the first liquor in the police station. Um, that was something that me and the group of friends we were with, it was just like, it was scary.
Right. Yeah. I'm just keeping up with the chat. Splatterhouse 3 Genesis had seriously terrifying cutscenes. I got to replay that. But yeah, this again, I feel like RE is great. That's a great topic to talk about, like the remakes and remasters and all that stuff. That's awesome.
But like, so talking about like new games, I am such a little girl. Like I hate playing these scary games now. I
Yeah,
can't do it. Like they're so like the graphics are so crazy, the atmosphere is insane.
it's scary.
Uh, yeah, like the new Dead Space, Callisto Protocol, um, like even like this Resident Evil remake. While I don't think it was scary, it was really intense. There were moments where, uh, like it was just intense trying to get from room to room.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I,
like modern day horror games, like Alien Isolation, I cannot play. Like
uh,
absolutely cannot do it. And I love the Alien
I
franchise.
think I downloaded that one. Was that the one of the newer ones?
Yeah, I think it came out in like 2015 or 2016, and you're basically playing like through the very first Alien
Okay.
film.
Yeah.
It's not the first movie, but it's that type of game
Gotcha.
where it's just straight horror. You really get no weapons, and you're being hunted and stalked by a xenomorph. Uh, Absolutely just terrifies me. I'm such a little girl.
No, I'm the same way, man. Like I remember, like last week I was watching the new Scream, and I still had to like kind of like watch it with like one eye closed, as I'm watching the movie. I'm like a grown adult, and I'm like a little bit nervous, like knowing it's a fake movie. It could still scare me. And I'm looking
Yeah, man.
after I finish watching. I go upstairs and I turn the lights off, and I'm checking in, like making sure no one else is in the house.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, but it's really cool to see how the industry has done like with horror games because they've taken off to a whole new level
Right.
of just crazy, scary jump scares. And I've got too much anxiety for that crap.
No.
I
Yeah.
just can't do it.
And the thing about it too, like I feel like okay, this is good for the topic of modern gaming and whatnot. So remember like back in the day when like people were upset like about lyrics and music and parental advisories and like things like that. And video games back then like weren't that bad, but then like you get Grand Theft Auto and there's you can kill people and like all that kind of stuff like in the game, and obviously you're doing the same thing like in other games back in the day too, but it just got a little more graphic, and then there was like the hookers and all that kind of stuff in Grand
Yeah.
Theft Auto, right? And I remember like people like a big thing, but now there's nudity in games like it's nothing. There's swearing in it like there's nothing. So I feel like obviously like if you're gonna play a game and there's like the TV mature, not TV mature, no, but like the ratings and all that stuff,
Yeah.
like mature and stuff like that. But it's come a long way. Like it's not Atari with Pong back and forth anymore. It's legit.
And like Mortal Kombat, which is what really started the
All the
whole
blood.
yeah, and like that's what created the what is it called? The ESRB, the like
Yeah.
entertainment rating system.
Yep.
Like that
Sounds right.
that's what created that. And like that is like child's play compared to like
Boom.
yeah, the ESRB, right?
Yep.
Like here we go, sounding like an old boomer and like a lame dad here, right? Like there's so much graphic content like in video games nowadays. Like you said, swearing. Like you can go into the strip club and Grand Theft Auto 5 and have a
Yeah.
stripper topless give you
Yes.
a lap dance,
Yes.
right? Like like I'm sorry, like here I am, like a boomer, a dad, like the rating is on that game for a reason. Like I'm sorry, like a child or a teenager, I say teenager, I mean like 13 to 14 years old. Like I, it's not a game for them,
All
man.
right, so talk about this, right? So as a parent, right? This is
Yeah,
same thing with me. So like my son's 17, but he started playing Grand Theft Auto when he was probably 14. But so was
yeah,
I at that age,
right,
right?
yeah,
I was too. So it's like I can't tell
yeah,
him no. Like I did the
yeah.
same damn thing, you know. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
one of
dude.
those. Yeah.
I bought Grand Theft Auto 3 like 2 weeks after it released on the PlayStation 2, and like the bloody footprints of you killing somebody, stomping them out, and running them through. Like I'm with you. Like I feel the same way, but for me, maybe it's. I think I'm a little more guarded because um, I have daughters, so it's all like I try to protect their innocence. Um, but I mean, yeah, just saying like just the overall topic. It's crazy how far games have come.
It really is,
Yeah,
man. And like again, shout out. We really appreciate all the folks that have been sticking with us since the beginning of the stream tonight and chatting with us and got to meet some new friends. And I did follow Chris's channel a little while ago, so I'm on there now too. But yeah, this is really a great conversation. But I think like one of the biggest things that it's so great about the day and age that we're in is again there's so much access to stuff, right? And you can decide what you want to use and what you want to play and what you don't want. And I think a lot of times, like, I just feel like, again, this stream for me, like this for you and I, is just talking about like what we think, and it's everybody got their own opinion on everything. But I just life's too short, and I just feel like if you don't like something, don't play it. And
yeah,
if you want to play it, then play it, and do your own thing. But I think that we're in this great day and age with technology, and I think it's going to only keep getting better. But I do, man, like physical media. Like I have so much stuff. Like I have like all the the old Hasbro's and my video games, and I have all the systems, and just like you, like we have all this great stuff. It's just the physical aspect of it for me is just I love it. I just love being tangible.
yeah. Well, I think one of the major downfalls in the video gaming industry now, and modern day gaming, and which is one of the real reasons why I started my whole channel, is you've got these major publishing companies. Uh, you're talking about, you know, play what you like, play if you don't like it, but you've
Right.
got all these major publishing companies that are paying people to write positive reviews or negative reviews, right? And they're just dumping and crapping all over games. And we've talked about it before, and GCG's in the chat, or he was in the chat, and he can attest to this as well. Like, no way in hell does Terminator Resistance deserve a 4 out of 10.
Dude, I just
Uh,
replayed that game again, the enhanced version. I played it the second
yeah,
time through. And real quick, off on a tangent. Talk about survival horror game. When you're in the
yeah.
hospital and you're sneaking around, that gave me chills, dude.
Oh yeah, dude, yeah, dude. Like it was crazy scary. So if like I would highly encourage you to check out and pay for the Annihilation Line DLC
I did
for
it. Yep.
that game.
Yep.
'Cause I played through that, right, and it takes like the hospital level, and like almost the entire DLC, about 8 to 10 hours worth, is just like that.
That's
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
so it's really crazy, but like people are paying off companies like IGN, GameSpot, stuff like that to write reviews, and like just like play with like I would encourage people like stay away from mainstream reviews. right? Like if you want an honest review,
Right.
go check out the guy on YouTube who's got like 100 subscribers.
Right.
Uh, or even better yet, stay away from the reviews and just buy a game because hey, look, like old school like us, right? The cover
Right.
art looks
Right.
cool.
Play it for yourself and then make an opinion. You know. And again, like if someone come to me and said, "Hey, like we'll pay you to give an honest review," that's fair. I'll do an honest review.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
like yeah, exactly. To your point, I'm not gonna review your product if it's not good. Give you a good score if it sucks.
yeah. I mean, and for me, like I think probably starting back in 2018, which was way too long, which is kind of when I was like, this is BS. Like I've got to stop reading mainstream reviews. Excuse me, I'm sorry
You're
for how I buy video games. Like I don't give a I don't care what IGN says. When the IGN review came out for Resident Evil 2 remake, and the author wrote up in the review that there was no need to play through Claire's storyline the second playthrough because it was the exact same as the first. It's like, dude, you haven't even played it. Like,
right,
you have no idea then because it's
right,
not the same. It's completely different. Like,
right. And it's funny. I know, like obviously, we're all in the review, gaming review industry. So that's where we're here. We like to review stuff, but we review a lot of retro things and whatnot. But I feel that I will watch a review for the entertainment of it, but I don't necessarily, the opinion aspect of it. Like I want to, I'll do some research on on buying a TV. I'll do some research on buying a refrigerator. But I don't, as far as the game goes, like if I know, okay, I'll read about the story of the game or whatever. If it looks interesting, then I'll buy it. I won't go watch a review to determine whether or not I'm going to spend the $70. I'll buy it based off of my interest in the actual, whatever it is.
I mean, I'm extremely guilty. Like I said, up until a few years back, like when a game released, like the week of, the week after, I would check the review out. Like, oh yeah, this game got reviewed bomb. Like I'm not going to spend my money. Like one of those games, was Sunset Overdrive, which
Mm-hmm.
I just played through and beat, and it got some decent reviews, but loved it. Phenomenal game, but I think there's a lot of people uh, that have a similar mindset to what I was doing back then, where it was, oh, whoever this ding dong is on this website says this game's trash, and again, a game that's $70, uh, that's a lot of money, and
Right.
that's really a lot of money for a lot of people. Uh, when you make good money, when you're adulting, you can buy games. Uh, $70 is hard to swallow sometimes.
I'm saying thanks to Chris for stopping by, and we definitely have to um, make that a reality at some point. We'll do a live stream with the three of us, and that's awesome. Really appreciate it. And it's Chris, right? I just want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, he's an awesome guy. He was really fun to hang out with and just chill with
that's cool.
at Midwest Gaming Classic.
That's awesome. Did you get any cool pickups and stuff while you were there?
So, like I talked about it briefly during my pickups video, which I really
Oh,
don't
right.
like do. I really
Yeah,
don't like doing pickup videos,
your buddy there,
but
Jim, loves it, right?
oh yeah, he loves it. Um, but I've had to I've learned over the last year, like talking about physical media is I kind of encourage people to not buy just stuff, not just buy like, oh, there's a game here, I gotta grab it, I gotta come home with something. Uh, like buy what you want to buy what makes you happy. I feel like there's pressure within the gaming community where like,
Yep.
oh, I've got to have a shelf full of games.
Hmm.
No, dude, like buy what you really want to buy what makes you happy. And so like I say that to say at Midwest Gaming Classic, I think honestly, dude, I think I maybe spent like $60 on games,
Yeah.
and it's one of the biggest game conventions in the country.
Right.
Like there was 25,000 people there, and I bought like four games, four
Yeah.
cheap games.
So we talked about it a little bit earlier before we started the stream, and this is like some real talk for me, and saying this out loud. But I took like a few months off from making videos just because it was no like I wasn't like going through a hard time, like obviously work and stress and family things like that. But I told Bill this when I did all the videos with Bill. I was just burned out. I didn't put something on social media. I didn't put anything out there and say like, oh, I'm taking a break, nothing like that. I do feel like a lot of our fellow, content creators feel a need to have to explain themselves, and I think it's tough that we're in a society where like it is tough. And I took the route where like, what, I'll be back. I stayed in touch with a few guys, that kind of thing. But I did feel pressure, but I was just like, what, like I got to do this, for me. And I had almost like a writer's block. I just got kind of burned out, and I wanted to have fun again. And that's what, like, really, I reached out to you, like, 2 weeks, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago. And I felt it was time. I want to get back and do it. And I do think we feel this pressure to produce content, and it can be tough, man. Same thing, work, grind, and family.
Yeah, like that, like that's a real thing. Like the pressure, like that's a thing. Like, and especially like, so we start our YouTube channels because we want to talk and share our thoughts and our ideas about our passion,
Yep.
right? And there's an aspect of that is like somewhere deep down, I think every one of us wants a little bit of attention. It's like,
Of
look at
course.
me, look at
Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. But there can be a huge sense of pressure where it's like I got to put a video out
Yes.
because of this jacked up social media platform where if you're not doing that kind of stuff, algorithms suck, views can suck,
Right.
and when that kind of stuff happens, like you're already grinding, you're already like pushing to do content and stuff like that, and then when like you work so hard to put out something and it doesn't do well, it's like like this just took whatever I was feeling and knocked me down even lower.
Right.
And
And,
that
and
hurts.
yeah, and you and I are very similar. Where like we put pressure on ourselves. Bill's the same. We're all the same way. The people that GCG, TC. I know all of us that we put so much effort into it. We don't half-ass it. So it's like we're sticklers. We're not. I guess we're probably close to being perfectionists at times. We want it to be really good, so we put this pressure on us, and it's not just sitting behind the computer. It takes it takes effort. Like, if I'm gonna, I've been working out and I'm trying to like get in better shape, things like that. So it's like, do I do that or do I do the channel? Do I go to work? Like that kind of stuff. Like you have to kind of make sacrifices. But I will say, like, you're 100% correct. Social media is, as far as modern gaming goes, social media is probably it's a good thing, but it's also a really shitty thing too.
Yeah, it's something else, man. And like one of the guys who really kind of helped me get going with YouTube, a guy named Jordy Slasher Gaming, who I don't think's doing much content anymore. He's
Okay.
across the pond,
Yep.
and
Oh
I think
yeah.
I had like 3 videos out, and like he was like, "Hey man, just keep going, like just keep grinding, like just keep going." Like that kind of encouragement helped. Um, but it is a serious challenge, and like kudos to everybody that puts out a video weekly or bi-weekly,
Yeah.
a month. Like
Right.
if you're working and you have a family and you're making YouTube, you are sacrificing, and just kudos and more power to you. But I say that to say like, if you're having fun, if you're enjoying it,
Yep.
don't get frustrated, don't get like it would, I won't say it can't, it will suck at times. Like the modern day gaming influence, like people's attention span is like,
Oh yeah.
it's
That's what, like, a lot of my videos, like, the average, views like 2 minutes or whatever, like, the duration. And I make like 25-minute, 30-minute videos because mine are like more like, it's more like like satire, like a TV show.
yeah,
But I look at it from the standpoint of like, I know everybody always says this stuff. People say, oh, like, But I think about like Mike, right, in the chat right now, and like, people that Shotgun that's been with myself and Bill, and then you now too.
Yep.
For this is the beginning, like we do it for those folks, like we do it for them. Like even if only one person watches, that for me is like so freaking cool to know that like right now there's 4 people watching on our stream. Like to know that there's 4 people watching, 2 of them are probably you and I. But it's just so great. Like it just even one person knowing that they're spending time with us, that's so freaking cool, man.
Yeah, like it is, and I've told people before, and I fully mean this, and I absolutely 1000% mean it. The minute people stop really watching my stuff, I'm done. Like
Yeah.
I'm done, dunsies. Like I've came, I've seen, I've done.
Right.
Like
Conquered,
I'm over it.
right.
But yeah, like for the people that do watch and like sincerely comment and watch, it goes a long way.
It does, and that's kind of where I feel like it motivates us, in a positive way. But it does feel good to be back, and I know again, like just I was so pumped when you're like, yeah, let's do it. Like it made my day. It's just like hey, we're getting back into it. Like we're gonna do this, and we'll release a few of these podcasts here and there, and it's just it's a lot of fun. So. Yeah, man. I think so. We're at like 11 Eastern. I feel like this is hour and a half of good discussion, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to bed because tomorrow, since it's Mother's Day, I'm gonna wake up with my daughter so my wife can sleep in. So
Nice.
later I go to bed, the earlier I'll be up. It's gonna come quick. My daughter gets up mad early, so yeah, man. Like, any closing comments for you?
I really appreciate Chris, Downing for coming by, Mike, GCG, TC, everybody that stopped by. Like that just like something like this. It's just fun to do, and it's
Yeah, man.
always fun to hang out with you. It's always fun to hang out with the chat. And like we both talked before we really started. We didn't write anything down. It
Nope.
wasn't like we didn't script anything. It's like, hey, let's
Right.
just hang out,
Yeah.
raw, uncut, and just hang out. Like if somebody says like the F word, like there won't be a Yoshi sound, but like apparently YouTube really frowns on that. So
I just put a hee in there. You couldn't hear it, but when you play it back, you'll hear it.
nice.
I actually have to redo my stream deck. I lost the Yoshi sound. I gotta redo that.
Dude, I've been working pretty hardcore on my stream deck, modifying all the buttons and doing that. So
Yeah.
that's been fun. But I mean, like, just thanks everybody for coming out, and
Yes.
hanging out on a Saturday night.
Yep. Yes.
I appreciate everybody.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Mike C. I know you're still hanging out with us. We appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your night. And everybody will be back at some point. And if you'd like to see any new topics, please reach out to myself. He's at dadlame _ between the dad and the lame at Twitter, and I'm at Game Mode Retro on Twitter. And obviously, you can leave comments below on this video. But anything you'd like to see future topics discussed, David and I are open to that. We definitely would love to do something again soon. So we appreciate you guys stopping by and checking us out tonight. This has been our discussion around our thoughts on modern gaming. I thought I went off the rails, which in a really good way. We went different spots, up and down, and that's exactly what, like David mentioned, we're here to, we didn't script it out. We wanted it to be natural and fun. So thank you, everybody, for stopping by.
Yep. You guys have a good night. Again, everybody that's watching, happy Mother's Day to your wives, to your moms, everybody out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Yeah, I was waiting for that, David. Thanks for checking out the Retro Gamer Chronicles podcast.